Kate Monroe is a U.S. Marine veteran. Daniel Morisani is a former Marine intelligence officer and former investment banker as well. So let's start with you, Kate. Just joining us again today. Your thoughts about the new action and going after infrastructure, some of that infrastructure, with Iran claiming that they will go after the neighbors.
Well, if you're going to say that you're going to go after infrastructure, at some point you're going to have to, or they're going to see, like when you tell your little kids not to do something, and if you do, this will happen, and then you don't do it, then they're going to act a fool. So don't make promises like that unless you're willing to actually push the button. And it's sort of a tenuous situation if you do push that button, because you do put a lot of the region and ourselves at risk if you don't go all the way. So it's like an all-in proposition, I think, at this point.
Yeah, it definitely would be an escalation there. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt is saying that Iran, though, they want to make a deal. Let's listen.
They have expressed they still want to make a deal to the president. We're talking to them, but again, the president is not going to allow them to fire on ships in the Strait without paying a consequence for that. And I think just one more point, I think throughout this entire endeavor, the president has proved not just to Iran, but to the entire world that we can hit Iran anytime, anywhere, any place, and their ability to defend themselves has been essentially wiped out because of this president.
Yeah, Daniel, it's difficult to understand some of this because we are seeing Iran fire on ships in the Strait. So do you believe that Iran actually wants to make a deal here? And what, in terms of what's occurring at the Strait, I mean, who has the leverage right now?
Well, I think as far as we can tell, what Iran really wants to do is to keep negotiating as much as possible. I mean, Trump himself pointed out that Iran has never lost a negotiation, right? They're very good at this. And I think that they are trying, ultimately, I think they're trying to wait out, run out the clock until the U.S. elections in November, because if the Democrats retake Congress, it's going to be a lot more headaches for Trump and make it harder for him to exercise American foreign policy.
Do they have to be able to defend themselves? Listen to Caroline Leavitt. Do they have to be able to defend themselves, or just antagonize and threaten others?
Well, I think what they do is, we think we're fighting this only ideological war. It's an intellectual war. They prey on the fact that of our weakness, that we're not so nasty that we would hurt their people and their infrastructure. And they do mind terror work. They're very good at that. And until we draw a line and step over it and march on and say, enough of that, we're going to do what we absolutely have to do, nothing's going to change, and they'll keep that chokehold. I really think at some point we should have left the Navy there in the Strait. We should leave them there. We should fire up oil here, turn the world's tide of oil production here, get them to bend the knee, and then Iran will be out there by themselves. Does
that work?
I think it does. I mean, certainly, pro-energy policy would be beneficial to American interests right now. I think the big challenge, though, is that from the Iranians' perspective, they don't need to bat 1,000 to close the Strait of Hormuz. They could hit 1 in 100 or 2 in 100 ships, and it still basically makes it impossible for the shipping industry to get insurance. And that's really what closes down the Strait, not a total dragnet, but just enough hits on ships.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Kate Monroe, Daniel Morisani.
Thank you.
Coming up, I sat with billionaire